Good morning, maayong Wednesday. Paspasalag panahon, Wednesday na. Ug niya na kita sa libro sa Philippians. So, ato lang gi-follow ang mga sulat ni Apostle Paul. So, last Sunday, we wrapped up Ephesians. Ug sama sa atong gibuhat sa Ephesians, we will get points from the letter ni Paul and we'll talk about it. So, discuss much about the plan of God and even until how God courses His plan just through families. That was a discussion nato dito sa Ephesians. So today, sama gyapon sa circumstances ni Paul sa Ephesians, he was in prison. So mo nang gitawag sila og prison epistles. So ato makita din ang dili gyud garantiya na kung ikaw tumutuo ni Kristo nga puros lang mga maayong butang ang imong or positibo mga butang ang imong lauman gikan sa imong mga kasinatian. But no, even Paul, because of his belief in Christ, the gospel, ang iyang trabaho sa pagsulti kani gospel dito sa mga non-Jewish people and even sa Jewish people, klaro nga na siya kasing-kasing tungod na dagan nga suko, dagan opposition. And we know, of course, the opposition is Satan himself. Doesn't want people to understand, to come to understanding of the gospel of who really God is from the very beginning, that He's loving, He's good, He's forgiving. He always wants people to think that He's a God who is distant, God who we could not go near to. Okay, but dili man amaw ang Ginoo. He had His plan of saving us because He's a good God, He's a loving God. That's why His plan coursed through history to the messiness of people until He sent the Messiah Jesus. So He doesn't want people, Satan doesn't want people to know about that narrative. So that's why gani we sing lahi kayo ang narrative nga na-present sa ato, sa mga tao. It's always a God who is strict, always a God who wants us to try harder, but that's not the God of the gospel. So mao ni si Paul at tungod na he was in prison, a lot of people were in opposition. Napriso siya and morning bisan pa man na siya sa prisuhan, nagdasig siya sa mga tumutuo labi na sa nasa Philippi, kay lugar man ng Philippi. So ingon siya din, he who began a good work in you will complete it until the day of Christ. Interesting kayo na storya. He who began a good work in you. And of course, if you replace the word he, the pronoun, that's Christ. So Christ who began a good work in you. Word is began. Good work in you. Iya gining trabaho dili atoa. Sukad sa kita nanamdagan kita sa mayong balita sa gospel. Kung sa kali ang gospel, we keep repeating it. Christ lived the life that we should have lived. That's in regards to the law. And of course, still with regards to the law, He died the death that we deserve. Because when we come to understand the law, the purpose of the law is really to crush our hearts, ourselves, our reliance on ourselves. And that's why we say no, we give up. And that's why we put our trust on the finished work of Christ. Because He lived the life that we should have lived. He died the death that we deserve. And that because of that, we are forgiven, we are accepted and beloved more than we ever hoped for. One line message sa gospel. Is that the gospel of try harder? No, that's religion. Okay, so that's the work of God from the very beginning. We've come to understand it. Later on, I part din niyan. Maybe this Sunday ato madiskutan kini. Still in chapter 1 of Philippians. Very interesting. Pero when we start to hear and understand the gospel, that's the work of God. And ingon din, he who began a good work in you will continue it and will finish it until the day of Christ. That's why it's a reminder. I don't know if you remember, but we've talked about in Romans. Sa Romans, magiging kining tawag nila Magna Carta of the Gospel. Kung naagimayo nga pag-describe sa Gospel, it's in Romans. So, if you remember, na ay word dito nga akong explain nga ang pagkasulat sa gospel, labi na kanang it is finished, it is an action done in the past, continuing in the present, and its fulfillment is in the future. So mao na ang pagka di ba kinaman tayo past, present, future nga atong nabalaan sa English tense. Pero dinhi sa pagkasulat sa gospel it is finished. Included na ang past, okay? The present and the future. And basically that's the Bible. Interesting po, mao na ang Bible pagkasulat. There was an action done in the past. There was creation, there was the fall of man, but there was the promised Messiah. And there was a continuing work until the Christ came. And then when Christ came, there's still a continuing work. What is, as Ephesians says, that we have learned last time, what's the plan? That all will come under the authority of Christ one of these days. And the day of Christ being this Christ is His coming, the establishment of His kingdom, the new heaven and new earth, where all of us, non-Jewish and Jewish people, will be united. Okay? It's not talking about the local body of believers. It's really ang unahuna sa Ginoo perminti on a grander scale, bigger scale. Nakikita perminti ta micro nga itong unahuna, but this is macro, unahuna sa Ginoo. So until the day of Christ, He will continue it. That's why we are assured we could rest in the work of Christ in our lives. From the very beginning we heard of it, we are understanding it until its fruition, its fulfillment when He comes back. It's all His work. That's why we could rest. Diba? Makapahulay kita. We could not go back to the spectrum of religion or legalism that's telling us to try harder to please God. No. And we don't go to the other spectrum saying relativism. Nakita na yung magbuot unsay tinuod. And then we doubt the goodness of God. No, we stand in the gospel in the middle. That He died, the death that we deserve. He lived the life that we should have lived. And then we continue to claim every day and drink from the well and eat from it the bread of life that tells us we are forgiven, we are accepted, and we are beloved more than we ever hoped for. Na more than we ever hoped for. Kaya di kita mutuuan ng gospel. It's hard. That's why the constant pull to go back to religion. Oh, you have to do something to please God. That's always there, but let us be reminded, okay? Murag atabay ba sa tubig ba? We get there and we drink from it, like the bread who is Christ. We eat of it and remind ourselves daily that we are forgiven, we have been accepted, and we are His beloved because it is His work from the very beginning, continuing in the present, and He was going to fulfill it on the day of Christ. As what He said, He will bring all of us under His authority. So that's the beginning of Philippians. So pagsugod pa lang kayo, grabe ang pagdasig even though he was in prison. So hope everybody is having a good week. Paspas lang ang adlaw and see you Sunday.